right. Welcome to the Scoop. I'm Farah,
And I'm Nicole.
and we have another special edition of the Scoop, and this one is going to be on kind of where we're at now and where we're going. Is that good? I think that's good.
Yeah,
All
that's
right, that's like kind of suspenseful. Okay.
great.
All right. So, we did talk a little bit about at Sonnenskate, or we did talk about all of it from the beginning, kind of till now, and a little bit about the future. So we're going to go a little bit more in depth about our kind of our present, where we're at. A lot has happened, surprisingly, in the last month,
Mhm.
and what we're doing in the next what 3 or 4 months. There's a lot happening. So even this week, there's a lot happening. So. So let's talk about that. So as of right now, we have how many buildings, Nicole, right now?
As of right now, we have two full buildings, and then we also have a classroom embedded into the school. So technically, three locations.
Perfect. And um, let's start here. So what has gone well this year and that was kind of different that we did this year at the school building? Let's start there and then we can kind of branch out. So you want to describe that program a little bit?
Yeah, so we were in collaboration with the Sonnenberg School and determine how we could best service that kind of early intervention area. Because as we know, there is more development that occurs during those age ranges. And so we really want to make sure that they're getting both treatment and education at a young age so that takes them into adulthood and they have that like good like base foundation. And so in thinking about that, we decided to create a kindergarten program. So the school made their kindergarten program a half day program. And that allowed for these individuals to receive ABA services the other part of their day if they needed that type of support, right?
Mhm.
So what we did through consultants is we opened up an ABA classroom inside the school building. So for many reasons, so that we could have a closer transition from an ABA setting into an educational setting, so that we could also collaborate with the teaching staff and educators more closely and so that we could create a classroom in which it closely resembled like an educational setting while still staying true to ABA and following the diagnostic criteria for autism and treating communication, social interactions, behavior reduction, all of those kind of like key components.
That's awesome. I love that. And that's been a very successful program this year, correct?
Yes, that's been a very successful program. It's also taught us a lot about maybe some of the gaps that we still may have or need to kind of like develop further. It taught us a lot about each other, so about an educational lens versus a clinical lens. It created a lot of collaborative pieces, a lot of like Bree looked at like all the way to a handbook of okay, how do our policies and procedures align or don't align? And so that kind of all got created this school year. And she's done a really nice job at kind of making sure that that communication was at the forefront of those relationships. So that was really neat to see. And we've come a long way.
Yeah, that's very cool. So we've come so far that
Yes.
we want to do more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so to go back a little bit
Mm-hmm.
to the beginning of when the school started, which I can't remember the year, originally when it was under consultants, because there was time under consultants that the
Mm-hmm.
school started. It hadn't actually, well, the school started in 2019, was it?
I think so.
Like
And I think
20,
there was a portion of 2018 in which
okay.
we were developing what that school portion was going to look like. And I think we had like one program of it running in like the clinical setting at that time. Because I remember like my own children were a part of that program. I believe like, was it kindergarten? I don't remember exactly. Or was it more of like a daycare kind of thing?
Well, so if we go back to, I want to even say it might have been even the year before that, but maybe not. I don't have the exact dates, but we did
Yeah.
start um as kind of more. mm, Yeah, it seemed more daycare-ish, but
Mhm.
young because we
Yeah.
did get a certification that was there was really no certification. We didn't really know exactly what we were gonna do and how that was gonna look. But the idea is still remains the same. We wanted to be in the same building. We wanted to be able to take clients from the clinic and push in and kind of do, I don't know, like maybe an assessment or like a trial run of like how are they doing in this environment with other kids. And it started off with really everyone was invited into this like preschool, I would call it.
Yeah.
And so we had kind of a mix of a variety of kids, and that's what we did. And we would see like, oh, our kids, can't sit in the circle, or we can't attend, or whatever you want to call it. So that's how it started. And that was with somebody that it was a different person. And we did that for a little bit. And that was all under consultants. So consultants kind of did this pilot of that. And then that evolved into we moved to Mount Pleasant then and had it moving and kind of trying to figure out what we were doing there. And that became more of a very uh that's when Brittany got involved too with
Hmm.
what was it, 6 or 7. Jeff came on board. He's one of the schools on the board now, but he was the original one then that took the program, and we decided, okay, we have enough information. Brittany worked really hard with that original group, and the rest, there's more than Brittany, but she really led that original piece of the ABA piece. And then Jeff actually went to Madison and like said, this is what we want to do, DPI. And here's what it looks like. We're going to start a nonprofit, and it's going to go through all of this. It's going to be called Sonnenberg Schools officially. It's going to, divvy off from consultants, and it would be fun to have him on actually and say
Yeah, that
some of
would be
that.
nice. Hmm.
That would be a really cool
Yeah.
because he's an educator. So he came from a very long, many years of educating and all abilities. But this was new to him. But again, he really saw the vision. He was very excited. And so DPI said, okay, this is what you need to do. You can submit it, et cetera, et cetera. So we did. So that's where it started, was with Jeff. And that was the beginning of, our nonprofit. And here we are. So it was within the building with us consultants. And that's where we kind of envisioned, and that's where it was like, okay, so because we can still pull kids, kind of push and pull, and really tailor it to what they can handle. So if a kid could only handle sitting or going into the room for 15 minutes, that's what we did, right? We did whatever it was necessary. So we learned a lot. Um, what happened after that then? Because we were in both buildings, Mount Pleasant and Pleasant Prairie then, right?
Yeah, it started at that Mount Pleasant campus with Jeff and like a core, yeah, group of probably about 6 clients, I want to say. And yeah, Brittany heavily involved in how that ABA aspect looked in more of an educational setting.
Mhm.
And then I think that's when we brought in other team members, other leadership members, to Sonnenberg schools to grow it. And then it went to both campuses because when it was at
Okay.
Pleasant Prairie, we had like 3 different classrooms at that time. And it ran like throughout kind of like, yeah, like our downstairs area there.
Yeah. And that was a huge year. Huge because
Yeah.
we learned different age groups. We learned when it was too, like, I can remember certain clients or students combo that I remember the one that would try to take off and you had to, like, it was like,
Yeah.
you
Uh-huh.
had to really work close. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was super interesting because we saw where we had holes. We saw where we funding holes too. Yeah,
Yes.
funding, that was a big year for like, whoa, we're really doing a lot of this over here. And how does
Hmm.
the school, how do we support the school, but not too much because we're so yeah, so the point of telling kind of the history of this is that we always, from the originally or beginning years, we always wanted it in the same place.
Hmm.
And that's kind of my point in giving that history because then the school kind of took over and was like taking over the entire downstairs. And I was like, well, now consultants is being restricted and we can't take anybody else. So then we're like, well, that's not gonna work. So then I think, but when did that happen? I'm trying to think so then the Mount Pleasant roof happened. We both moved into the new Mount Pleasant.
Hmm.
And so whatever year that was, then we decided because that really took over, like the whole building.
Yeah.
We were like, we're
Yeah,
all
that
school.
was like the whole building. Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
we're like, oh, well, now it's just the school, you know. So that's when we made the decision to go into the building that Nicole was just talking about. And they're going to get their own space and we're going to figure out how this works. So we've gone in and out with satellite programs and having teachers there, not having, like this year it's been a satellite program and there's been some really good lessons in this year as well,
Mhm.
along with Franklin Street. And so we've gone back and forth, back and forth. And really, the school needs to thrive and keep growing. And so does consultants. But we do need to be able to have the original plan, which is in the building, be able to have some, well, so you kind of described that with the beginning of this.
Mhm.
And that's really what's been successful is having our own space and going back to the original plan, but being in the school where the school can keep thriving and growing with us, starting and being able to kind of push and pull, right? Like so
Mhm.
that we have other clients that come in brand new, never had any kind of treatment or intervention of any sort. And so then we're like, oh, we need to figure this out. We need to be
Mhm.
able to support the school. Was that fair to say?
Yeah. Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So really that's where we're at. And what I mean is it's kind of a full circle, except that it's in the school building with us having our own space and then supporting. And that really was the original plan. And we keep going back to that. We just didn't know where to go,
Mhm.
and how to do it. So we've tried a bunch of different things, which is again what I love about the whole organization is that we're always like, okay, we're going to give this a year. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to see what went well and what we could maybe pivot. That's kind
Mhm.
of to pivot. Um, so here we are, and this is a really exciting week. This will come out after this has already happened, but this week we have the final walkthrough tomorrow. So I believe then I don't know if that means we're closing tomorrow or Wednesday, but we're having the final walkthrough. I'll probably find out today of the new building. So
That's
that's so
exciting.
exciting and it's huge and it's
Yeah.
it's like two and a half of Pleasant Prairie. So it's huge. It's a ginormous building and we've kind of figured it out. Now how many rooms do we have in just consultants have in that building?
So we have a whole floor in that building, and so that is for pretty large size classroom settings, as well as two additional like smaller rooms that will either act as like offices or potentially like calming spaces as needed. So yeah, I mean
Huge.
it's significant. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a huge like. And it has not been easy getting this building. As far as like, there's been a lot of like anything, like any real estate or whatever. of just figuring it out. So we're really excited about that, the school and consultants, and it's pretty much full
Mhm.
already, so we really need it. So there wasn't after we committed. So yeah, so now we will have four locations
Mhm.
and the school will have two. They technically have three because they do have Villa Street, but we'll be selling that one. But yeah, it's kind of really a full circle because we really know and feel really good about these next steps and what's needed. And so then in future, we see ourselves, replicating something around about this. I mean, I know we'll probably tweak things because we always do, and we'll say, oh, we should do this a little different. That's what's great about our program is we don't settle for, it's just a lot of work. We don't want to do that. That's not us.
Yeah.
So we're constantly growing and learning. So we're really excited about that. That will be this coming school year. So 26, 27, and it'll be a very busy summer.
Mhm.
Just next month already. Can you believe that?
That's insane. Yeah. Very busy. Yeah.
Yeah, super busy, really excited. So we wanted to explain that. So that's really the model. We're kind of figuring out, and what I mean is consultants is kind of figuring out like what are extra, like I think we're always going to need to have some, I want to say extra building, but we have our Pleasant Prairie and our Mount Pleasant building, and they're very much needed. So those, I don't know if we will always have like an extra building along with the school that has, and we go back and forth. That's kind of what we're figuring out for the future, I would say, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Because we
could
don't
see it.
really
I
know.
could see it both ways.
Yep.
However, we are always filling the gap. So wherever the needs are is how our programs have been based. Because we don't want to turn away individuals that need our supports and need our guidance. So we make sure that there's a program that's like suited for them to get the best out of treatment and just out of like life in general, like whatever is going to be like the most socially acceptable for that individual and give them the best quality of life.
Yeah. So that's what we'll see in the next year, what kind of unravels and what that looks like. But the goal we know is we need to be in tandem and together and like a partnership with the school so we can give whatever individual, needs. So there's a lot of support in both programs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we'll go over some, I mean, it's more so kind of what we have figured out as of now. It'll develop, of course, more and more. That's just how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But so we're looking at this is kind of where the Sonnenberg collaborate. What do we say? Collaboration. Sonnenberg collaborative. What did I say?
Yeah, collaborative.
Collaborative. So
Yeah.
the Sonnenberg collaborative. Yeah. From foundations to futures.
Mm-hmm.
And really what we're looking at right now is these kind of four different areas of like different entities. So we have the Sonnenberg, so you have the overarching umbrella, and that's like the Sonnenberg kind of like collaborative over like the Sonnenberg name, and it's a collaboration of these four kind of pillars, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from, the foundation of Sonnenberg and where we started all the way to like the future, which is what we're about to kind of explain. Um, yeah, so it's really exciting. So we have the Sonnenberg School, which is like one of the pillars, Sonnenberg Consultants, which is obviously super important. It's where, everything started as far as from the ground up. That's the 25 years, that's the heart kind of the business as far as like, I mean, that's why we're here. And schools has just completely just blossomed and is just, running away. So it's great. And then what we're thinking is we have properties. So that's the building and all of the properties that we have, the two properties that we have are under Sonnenberg properties. And that's kind of the guts of like the environment. And then we have the two school properties as well. So there's kind of a collaboration with that. And then we're going to do more of an environmental, it's our, what we're thinking is a Sonnenberg initiative. So what that looks like is it's exactly how it sounds. It's what do we need? What's our initiative? What's our community outreach? What's this collaboration? Again, that word again, like it's again a partnership, a collaboration of the community coming in, having a board, it's a nonprofit, sitting in and having a lot of input of what exactly do we need in the buildings, if we're in the community, whatever it is, what does that look like? How do we fund that? How do we support that? That's a whole separate like beast is, the sensory items and what just again, how do we set the environment up to succeed because that's what ABA is too. I mean, like that you're literally changing the environment. It's not the client, it's the environment to support. You want to talk a little bit about that, Nicole, and what you're foreseeing and forecasting for that and what that might look like?
Yeah, so we have our clinic locations, and we've really been looking at the environment as a whole and what populations are located in each environment so that we can set them up to meet those needs. And so something else that we're doing starting in fall, and we're kind of slowly integrating that now and starting now, is that we're incorporating a center that is based on development and community and really looking at how the program is going to gear individuals for life skills and mock that center for the community. Okay, so some of our centers are going to be based on development and community. And so we're going to be setting up those locations to mock different community centers. So we'll have different themes within each area that will do like grocery stores, dentist office, other doctors' offices, things of that nature. And then our other campus will focus on that early intervention component as well as that school readiness piece. So it will be more like group skills, more kind of like mock classroom, learning a lot through play and interaction and things of that nature. And so we really started to look at, okay, what environments do we want? And what environments do we want to replicate because we know they're effective, we know that they work. And with that being said, we do want to have more community outreach in regards to that. So being able to generalize those skills to home, to caregivers, to going to the grocery store and seeing if those skills are working and things like that. There's a big area in which, like, for example, I have clients that can't go to the doctor. And if they can't go to the doctor due to their interfering behaviors, then they can't get blood work. And if they can't get blood work, then they can't get the medications that help maintain those types of behaviors. And so it's kind of this like trickle effect. And so we started looking into how can we create something that, yes, helps our environment and also helps the community and pours into the community in relation to like what do first responders need to know, how can we how
Yes.
can we have a collaborative with them, which I know that Sam and I did a lot of work with
Yep.
the police and going and speaking with the police, and they taught us just as much as we taught them. It was a really nice opportunity to just be engaged and collaborate and help as many people as possible because we all want to help. It just
Yeah.
sometimes we don't know how or what is the best way to do that. And the autism spectrum is so wide that in working with first responders It's hard because not every individual is the same or is going to present in the same way. So there's not this standard like, oh, when you see this person, do this.
Right.
However, it's a set of skills that we can work on, and you have to kind of modify that to them, just like we do with other caregivers or parents or teachers or other educators. It has to be it's unique to what they can do as well. So I think like taking all of that and bringing like advocacy and understanding to a larger community is kind of where you thought about that.
Absolutely. And it, it's interesting because I had a conversation with the former, I don't know if he was a superintendent, what he was. He was for sure a principal in a different up north west. And he says to me this a couple days ago, I don't understand what's different about the schools and like in the like the clinics. I'm like, yeah, clinics. And it's like, can you just explain to me? And like, what is different? Because I was running the school, and these are the issues we had, which is everything you just described, everything to a T. It was misunderstanding of how someone, presents, and actually he has a son that was just diagnosed, that is an adult, young adult. So he was very interested personally, and his son uh is in college and doing very well. I mean, there's hiccups and there's things that they're addressing, and he had questions. And I said, well, and he was there. So I just talked to him. He was my
Mhm.
kind of person, just straight to the point and like very like, no, Dad, I just don't like that person. Like he was trying to like, it's just, I love it because it's just so like, just a business.
Right.
So it was fun to kind of play around and be interested. This is the community part that I'm talking about, is to hear what are the real problems out in the community with the parents. His son's in college, doing well, but struggling in some areas. Like, what does that actually look like? And where are we actually needed? And how, because the bigger picture helps us scale down and say, okay, so, right, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Like, if you know as adults that this is what's happening, you know how to scale back to when they first come in for treatment if they're little or in the middle or whatever. You know what is like kind of needed.
Mhm.
And then you need a constant like pulse with families in the community, like you said with the police. Like what actually is happening? What are you running into? Like what
Yeah.
and what do you do and how do you react? And gosh, I didn't even think about that. So Jason, what was fun because he has a different view than we do. And he was like, here, let me just break this down real basic for you. Basically, consultants goes in, figure like you just said, goes in and says, okay, this is interfering behavior with whatever. And they go and work it out, and then they go back to what they're doing, and they're with them as supports, and then they fade out. I mean, he said it so basic. I was like,
Mhm.
here's my like long-winded thing. And he goes, oh, the dad goes, oh, makes sense. And I'm like, oh, that was it. I just went on for 15 minutes. It's really but it does look so different. So we need awareness. We need those like handshake, so to speak, of collaboration and moving forward. And it just needs to be continual and normal. It needs to be normal that like it looks different all the time, everywhere. And to not like immediately say, this is what I need to do, because maybe you don't. Maybe it's something completely different. So that's the idea behind the initiative. The initiative is exactly what the word is. It's our initiative to continue to educate, continue to have outreach so we can get the pulse back at the clinics and the schools and in the community to move forward.
Mhm.
Um, so we're really excited about that. That's a big thing that will be happening in the next couple of months. It sets kind of the tone of how we move forward with some of these buildings and what we need because it's very expensive to get the right environment the way that you want it so it's not destroyed every other day.
Mhm.
Um, and we need, and what I mean by destroyed is you have, you know, things that happen, punches in the walls or kicks or it's worn, or something gets thrown or what have you. And so we want to make sure we're keeping the clients and our staff safe
Mhm.
and the right training. There's lots of training. It never stops. Every day it's constant, constant, constant.
Mhm.
So we want to be able to support our staff too. So is there anything else that you want to add to that? Does that kind of summarize it?
Yeah, that summarizes it. I love this piece because I think this is the piece that of the whole puzzle that I think we were um missing or just didn't tap into like fully in this way with this type of like magnitude, which I'm really excited to kind of like see it all fold out. And it's always been really important for the both of us to have that full circle treatment and support for the individuals that we service. And that includes all the community members that they run into
Yep.
um, in a daily basis. So it's really important. And yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. And again, it's like just my running into someone this weekend goes to show what the need is. This is an educator that's been in for 25 years, just found out his son is on the spectrum, and is like, what are you doing different? I don't understand. And what do I do? Perfect example. Somebody that's like literally in it, and in all aspects. And then it was just so great to hear, like, yep, that was like pretty much like, yep, that we're doing what we need to do. And so what does that look like? So I'm excited because that gives me lots of ideas in my head of how we can support colleges and like
Yeah.
so many different, like you can go on and on, which is why the environmental piece and how that's supported is so important because it's not just about being in the clinic or being in the school. There's so much more to that. So
Mhm.
that's really exciting, and to create and think about what kind of board we'll create that will help support that.
Yeah.
And is really exciting. So I agree. It's the part that we've really needed, and I think we finally have figured it out.
Yeah.
So that's the big news, everybody.
Yay.
Carmen, did you
It's
hear
so
that?
exciting because I mean, the other piece of this is that, you know, ABA is not seen as a long-term support provider. And so at some point in time, you need to be able to fade out
Yep.
um,
Yep.
of those services. However, the autism doesn't go away. The milestones into adulthood don't go away that every individual has. Um, the your quality of life like doesn't get thrown in the garbage, like there's just so much like after ABA. And I
Yeah.
think that's also what we're tapping into is one, how we have a quality program that allows us to fade out services and allows us to push into an educational setting or the next plan of care sooner is what we're going to do. Um, and then what happens next, then what's after education? Or
Right.
are you going to be able to um, work? Are you going to be able to live independently? How does that look for you? And what does the environment need to have in order to do so? And I'm really excited about that part.
100%. And that just really covers wherever we go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Honestly. It covers whatever building we're in, whether that's properties of the school or a store or a college or whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
it just covers that. So it will be really cool to move forward with that and connect with the community. We've done some of that moving forward. We have kind of a plan, a marketing plan, and like different sectors that we're developing. And we have a marketing team that's really excited. I- when you throw a whole plan at them, and this is an idea because I'm always thinking, and Nicole's always thinking, like, oh, we could do this or whatever, and on a Friday, and they're like, I'm diving in on a Friday, like at 2 o'clock. Oh, I'm
Mhm.
so excited. I'm gonna do this, that you've got like your team, and that like it's very exciting because we have a lot of just really excited people, to move forward with what we're doing and just working together. Again, it's like that, I was just looking at my notes and I love this too. Like I almost like this even more, but like the partnership promise. That's kind of what we're doing. It's
Yeah.
kind of a fun, like little thing. Um, because it is. It's like no matter who we are partnering with, whether that's each other, whether that's the school, whether that's the initiative, a college, a policeman, police, whatever, wherever we're going, it really is like a partnership. And
Mhm.
it really is like our promise to work together and work through whatever that looks like for each person. Hopefully, then we can replicate that, and that looks great for many others, but a little different. That's what we're trying to do.
Mhm.
And right now, with our public schools, I think I can say this like kind of in a little bit of a always in a transition, always in a like what's next. I mean, deficits are huge. Everywhere you go, you hear 20 million, 17 million, 12 million deficits, and we're cutting and we're taking down buildings and, we're selling buildings. I mean, that is everywhere, everywhere. The person that I talked to this weekend, that's what happened to him. They cut
Mhm.
out, I can't remember how many people, and he had to transition. And they cut out all the first, I think up to it was 100 positions and some of the upper level. And then anyone that was under so many years was cut. So you have all these brand new teachers that were all cut, and many of them stopped being a teacher. So now you just lost a funnel of like excited individuals coming into and this is a couple years ago, but so it's just, we're really at a standpoint where what is education going to do? Like, where are we going? So we know where Sonnenberg Schools is going. We know what we want. We know what's needed. And that's really exciting. And I really hope that we can continue to collaborate. Like RUSD has been a great partner. And collaboration comes down to money. We save money for them, but they get what they need. And I really hope that we can continue that and that this is a great model for other public schools so they can see that it can be a great partnership and
Mhm.
that this is kind of our promise with consultants and schools and what that looks like. And that we're not competing, we can partner. So I think that's a really big message too, because
Yeah.
our USD really has said that. And I know Kenosha does not. So that's one thing that whoever comes into Kenosha in the future, I really hope that whoever listens to this can let them know like we really can help and any other district and follow what our USD is doing as far as the partnership because it's really been great. We've been
Mhm.
very successful with that. And I think that's why the schools too are really flourishing and doing well because we have something very special, and
Mhm.
that's the school and consultants collaboratively working together to have this product,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So the initiative will be great. I'm really excited about that. So okay, so great. And so that's our fourth pillar, essentially, is the environment, and that should cover wherever else we go, whether we do residential and we would buy a building, which would go under properties, and then we would figure out what we need to supply that building through the community and whatever. And that's kind of where that goes and what we're looking at. So this really is kind of a full circle partnership, foundations to future. It just
Yeah.
keeps going. So so and yeah, we have our teams. We're really excited. People are really excited. And then hopefully we can just continue to replicate where is needed and what, which is pretty much everywhere, honestly.
Yeah.
So anything else that you wanted to talk about beyond that? Because that's kind of everything, right?
Yeah, that's everything. I mean, we have a model that works. We know it works, and it's about like adjusting where needed and the replication of that and how we do that so that we can share more of it with more people.
Yeah. So we're just going to continue to build our teams and our leadership so we can have quality, whatever it is, whatever pillar you're in or whatever service you're in, and it all kind of works together, or it does work together.
Mhm.
And it just kind of goes from one pillar to the other, which I love because sometimes like you were discussing, Nicole, back is they want to say like, okay, you're done. Your autism is over. And that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So we have like this hand off kind of like, we need some help over here, or this is some support. And sometimes it comes back and sometimes it does this. And so that's where we want to really look into funding. Like Nicole was saying, is there's a lot that hasn't been tapped into. We do need a lot of manpower to do that. It's not easy. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of failure of like failure meaning, nope, you're not going to get this. Sorry. This should not be happening, or your client's doing too well, or that should be this, so it's a lot of that. It can be very frustrating and, like, okay, but then we look at, okay, so this is a lesson. This didn't
Yeah.
work. Why didn't it work? So that's our next step, moving forward. And I think it would be really good to maybe in September, October, November, let's talk about it. Let's see where we're at, how it worked, how it's working. And then I think I'm going to ask Jeff too, because I would love his perspective of how that went for him. I know my perspective, he's again on our board that started the school, and we couldn't have done it without him. He literally was like, "What do you need me to do?" Okay, I don't know what we're gonna do it, and he was willing to do anything. And he
Yeah.
had the bigger picture, and he had the experience of frustration when kids didn't do well, and he was, they were not supported in the way. So that'll be a good perspective. If anybody that's on here is listening and would love to see more in a certain area, we would love to do that too. We can bring on, some of our partners in those areas. So yeah, I think that would be great. So I don't think I have anything else. I'm just looking here. Do you have anything else? But I don't think I do.
I'm good.
All right. So, yeah. So, thanks for listening to us again. Really exciting. And Nicole, you sometimes, her and I use this as a brainstorming.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Yeah. So, we will see you next time on The Scoop. Bye.